Hello and welcome to another episode. We are now season 5, episode 8 of the Inner Success Story podcast, and this season is all about toxic relationships. Today's video or podcast episode, depending on which format you are listening to this in, is about staying versus going. So this comes up a huge amount. And when I left my first marriage, I felt such a huge amount of guilt. Firstly, about the idea of leaving. And then once I had got through that particular stage and was then thinking about why did it take me so long to leave, then that had its own set of challenges, its own set of issues that came up for me. So my experience has been that when you are in a toxic relationship, you might share some snippets of your relationship with other people, but you probably don't share everything because you know that some of the things that you could potentially share are actually pretty awful. And you know that if you heard those things that your friend was experiencing, you would either have some thoughts about it privately, or you may share with them. And you may be the person who says, this isn't right. You can't stay in that situation. You deserve better than this, and all of those other things. And if they are not things that you would think you would say, they are certainly things that you think others would say. So my experience has been that holding on to the information and holding on to the full picture, that was the path that I chose, was not telling somebody absolutely everything. And it's really strange. So this conflict of, first of all, thinking of leaving. So let's deal with that a little bit first. So huge bit. So the big part of thinking maybe I need to leave this relationship, for me, the first thing that came up when I thought those words in my head was, I'm so ungrateful. How can I think of doing that? How could I take his child away from him, seeing him every day? All of these different thought processes about how awful it was to be thinking that I might want to end my relationship. And the guilt of that was enormous. So I felt like everything I said was lying to him because I was still trying to make the relationship work. I still wanted the relationship to come to a better outcome than I was experiencing at the time, but was also thinking, how can I say those things to him while still feeling like ultimately this is not a good situation to be in, not even thinking of leaving at that particular time, but thinking, I'm not sure this is okay. I'm not sure that this is something that I like and enjoy, and I certainly don't want this to be my next 40 years. So lots of people, when they hear about, and even on like group, there's tons and tons and tons of groups on Facebook about toxic relationships. And initially, doing the work that I do, I went into them quite regularly to give value, to help people, to raise my profile, etc., without being spammy pammy and putting lots of stuff in there. But my experience with toxic relationship sites on the internet, on Facebook and what have you, is that they're pretty toxic themselves. And there's quite a bit of victim shaming and things like that, like the last place that you would want to experience those things. So I don't really go into them very much because I think they're a bit, don't really like them. And I think the problem is they've got too big and people can't now police all of the comments and what have you. Anyway, that is a bit of an aside. But what I do experience is, even in people who've experienced toxic relationships and understand the complexities, even they will say to each other, you need to leave, you need to go, you need to this, you need to that. No, the process of leaving a relationship that is good is hard enough. But the process of leaving a relationship that is toxic is much more complex in my experience, for myself and also for my clients as well. There is so much complexity that kind of goes with it. And some of that is because of how you've been made to feel over the time that you are together. And for me, it had really eroded my self-confidence. When I finally left, I was very much like, I don't even know that I can do this on my own. But all I know is that The fear of seeing what it's like on my own is, what's the word? Lesser? Hold on. Yeah, the worry about seeing what it was like on my own was less than how I felt about staying. So the fear of staying became greater. And I think that is the point where you start to think about the actions that you need to take. I'd just like to take a moment just to have a quick caveat that if your relationship is causing you physical harm, patterns indicate that's not going to change. And if you are not safe in your own home, this isn't about a toxic relationship. This is about an abusive relationship. And if you are in a situation where initially it was aggression towards you, then it became physical around you, there are steps that many studies show this takes. I'm not a psychologist in this, I just have my own experiences and that of my clients. But if you are in a situation where you're not safe in your home and you are at risk of physical violence, the steps show that it will get worse. And it is super, super important that you start to make a really sturdy plan of actually leaving that relationship, because the physical violence is different, a different bag to a toxic relationship. And I want you to be safe. So please contact the police, please contact domestic violence agencies where you are. This is about toxic relationships as opposed to abusive relationships, where I'm talking about staying versus going. And I'm not saying that a physically violent relationship isn't complex to leave. What I'm saying is that you should only remain in a place where you feel safe, physically safe. And whilst mentally safe is really, really important and vital, physical safety, like, I don't want you to be at risk by staying in that environment longer. So that's the caveat that goes with that. So if you are experiencing that, please reach out to somebody who can help you with that. And if you don't have anybody else to reach out to, then please email me or message me. And I will try and find the agencies that are right for your local area so that you can have a chat with them. That would only be limited to UK, because I don't know enough about the system in any other country of the world. So just a little caveat there. So if you are in a toxic relationship where there isn't this element of physical or sexual abuse, so anything physical that's happening, then people will tell you that it's simple. Just leave, just go. But you are so in your boots by this point. You are so low at this point. You are so lacking in self-esteem at this point. It is really easy to feel like leaving is not a simple thing. Leaving is complex. Leaving requires so many things to be sorted. So when it comes to working out whether to stay or whether to go, it may well be that you move in this kind of gooey middle for quite some time, but then the decision that you're actually going to end this comes very quickly. That's been my experience. I'm very much, when I'm done, I'm done. I will give you lots of chances. I will try and communicate what it is that I want, but ultimately, when I'm done, that's it. I'm not returning to that situation. I'm not able to plug back into it. And it's not simple. It took me a really, really long time. And then, of course, once I had left and settled, then I'm looking back and thinking, God, why did it take me so much time? So I had this whole inner conflict of, oh my God, I'm thinking of going. And then an inner conflict later of, why did it take me so long to go? And what I would say to that, if you are feeling the same, like, why on earth did I stay in that relationship for so long, is you may find, like me, and I've done a lot of soul searching and discovery about this, is you may find that actually the reason that you stayed for so long is because you had to make sure it was really done. You had to make sure it was really done for you. You had to make sure that you had done everything you could so that when you stepped away, you were able to say, I did everything that I could to make that relationship work, and it didn't. So I need to tick those things off before I'm in a position to say, I tried everything I could. And if it didn't work at that point, then I've done everything that I could. So it may be that you, first of all, look at some of your own situation and behaviours. You may go to counselling. You may just work through it in your own head. There may be conversations that you have with your partner. So my experience has been, it doesn't seem to matter how many conversations, the change hasn't happened. And I've been considered to be dramatic by even thinking that I want to change those things. And therefore, my thoughts, feelings, completely unheard, completely not listened to. And therefore, I had then slowly ticked off this list of I've tried to communicate how I can with you about what is missing, what is needed, what is not okay, all of those things. And it's not just been blips, it's then been patterns of behavior that you have chosen, that he has chosen, that you then say, no, that's not right for me. So once you start to have the thoughts in your head of this isn't right, you probably will be followed with a desire to make it work and telling yourself it's not that bad. And that's perfectly normal. That is your fear kicking in of, no, this is what we know, this is what we understand, so we need to keep this. So we don't want to be on our own. We don't want to have to sort our finances out. We don't want to have to make this massive upheaval in our life. And that's okay that you feel those things. What I'm trying to communicate is that it's normal. It's normal to feel those things. So you start off with the uneasiness, then you start after that with the, no, we need to make this work. There are things I can do. There are steps I can take. We can move through this. It's just a blip. It's not that bad. But over time, there's a balancing act between becoming so beaten down by what you're experiencing versus having the strength to say, actually, I'm worth more than this and I need to go. And it may well be that the other person, your partner, is very aware of what's happening and what they're doing, or it may be that they don't, and that doesn't make it any better for you. The fact that they don't know what to do, you are not somebody's relationship guru. You are not the person who needs to tell them what to do and how to do it and what your needs are and all of this sort of thing. Yes, there's a level of communication, but not for you to teach and take him through step by step, but for you to be able to say, when X happens, I feel Y, and this Y is a problem for me. How can we change this? How can we improve this, etc.? So it's not about attacking the other person. It is just about trying to communicate. And once you feel that you've done everything you can to try and make the relationship work, at that point, you need to think about, how can I choose myself in this? Because that is okay. It's okay to say, this isn't all right for me. Like generations ago, you put up with it. And that's not the case anymore. So if you are not happy, if you are not being fulfilled, if your relationship is putting you in a position where you are choosing behaviors that you don't like, if you feel that you are not wholly yourself in that relationship, that is enough. I'm here to tell you that that is enough. It doesn't matter how much somebody says they love you. If you don't feel it, or it's not shown in other ways, then the words become meaningless. And once the words become meaningless, it all becomes quite hollow. And that is really, really natural. So you'll start to feel a bit uneasy. Then you'll start to feel guilty that you're thinking that this is not okay, and will try to make it work. And then a period of time will elapse where things either improve here and there. So sometimes we would have like really good times where I'd be like, oh, this is great, things are better between us, I'm not feeling as resentful, I'm not feeling as angry. And then something would happen and it would kind of all knock it down again, or it just wouldn't last. And then we don't know how big this pocket of time is, but however big that pocket of time needs to be for you between feeling uneasy about it and deciding that you want to leave, then that's entirely up to you. There is nobody who can say to you, you have to leave, you have to go. Well, people will say that to you if you tell them what's going on. It's quite likely that people in their support of you will want to tell you that you can't remain in that situation. But it is up to you, and you will leave at the right time for you. You will leave when you have ticked whatever your boxes are to say that you've done everything you can, and clearly this pattern of behavior isn't going to change and it's not okay for you anymore. So I hope that's given you a bit of reassurance that there is no exact method that you have to go through to be able to exit your relationship. It may well be that through the process of this that you find new ways with your partner and you can move forward, and that is fantastic. But it has to be your way. It has to be your timing. And I will be, over the next few weeks, taking you through various stages of how that happens. But for now, your timeline is personal to you. It's okay. Nobody else should comment or tell you to do that any differently, because it's got to be right for you. So hope you are enjoying the episode so far. Continue to check in and see when new episodes are uploaded or when you get your email, and come and watch when you need to, and keep revisiting them. So this is sometimes a situation where when you watch or hear something for the first time and then you come back and do it again, you will hear something or take something differently from it. So this isn't just a once and done. Keep coming back. And if you know anybody else who's in a toxic relationship who would benefit, then please share. Until next time, I will see you soon.